What's up guys, I'm Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you guys are subscribed. If you are not, please consider subscribing to the channel. I very much appreciate it. Today we're taking a look at another MMI. Recently here on the channel I featured their turret chronograph. That is their Mecha Quartz chronograph with some new colorways and a couple of different upgrades. Today we're taking a look at their GMT. It gets that same special date window or way of displaying the date combined with a GMT. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the turret GMT. If you're familiar with MMI, then you're definitely familiar with the way that they display their date. There is a date track in the center of the dial. It's a ring that basically displays all 31 days. And then there's a small bar that is loomed that indicates the date. It's just basically a pointer date that sits below the dial, but that splits the dial in two portions. There's an outer portion and then there's the inner portion. The outer portion on this dial is basically just a minute track, and then you have the applied indices. The indices and hands on this watch are filled with BGW9X1 and very liberally applied with lume, and we'll look at that towards the end of the video. Then on the inner portion of the dial, you have the logo. I believe that is loomed and it says GMT and then the water resistance. This does get 300 meters of water resistance because this is a diving GMT. You could tell because the bezel in ceramic has a 60-minute dive counter on it. And that is also filled with lume. So that is C3X1, very liberally applied with lume, very, very bright. We'll do a lume shot towards the end, like I said. But the hands also filled with that BGW9. You have dagger hands, they're segmented, and then you have a very large GMT hand. That GMT hand obviously means that this is a GMT, so you're getting an NH34 inside, Seiko powered NH34, automatic movement. This is a military GMT. That's what I kind of like to call these types of GMTs. All that means is that when you're setting the GMT, it is the GMT hand that skips when you are setting it in one direction. In the other direction, you will set the date. Simple, very easy to use, and very practical. This does get 300 meters of water resistance, so that means you're getting a screwed in crown and a screwed in case back. That crown is deeply etched with their logo and it has lume in it. Again, they love lume. They put lume everywhere, or at least they can. So they do. So they put it in the crown as well. The crown is very large on this watch. It's around 7 millimeters. That means you're getting a lot of lume in there. You have a lug to lug of around 46.5 millimeters, somewhere in that neighborhood. Thickness on this watch is just over 13 millimeters thick. I measured around 13.2 millimeters. That's with that sapphire crystal, which sits slightly above that bezel. That bezel is pretty thin, and you can see that it sits just slightly above that bezel. The case itself is just about 40 millimeters. I measured 39.9 millimeters, so just about there. But you do have these tiny crown guards that protect the crown. It does make the crown look bigger than it actually is. It doesn't really affect functionality or make the watch look or feel or wear bigger than it actually is. The case, like I said, is 13.5 millimeters thick, or just over 13 millimeters thick, and you do get 300 meters of water resistance, so that is pretty good. The bracelet on here is an H-link bracelet, as you can see. Very solid, and you have very large screws in the bracelet to remove links, which looks great. They're still using a pretty generic clasp on this. I wish that they would use something with a little bit of on-the-fly micro adjust. The price kind of is in that neighborhood now. I think that for $369, that's what this is actually selling for. I think you could probably put a little bit of on-the-fly micro adjust. However, with that being said, if you get this size to your wrist, because you do get 5 positions of micro adjust that are manual, you could definitely wear this very comfortably. It would be nice to have a little bit of on-the-fly micro adjust, perhaps in the future. The case is very angular, sort of reminds me of a Seiko Samurai a little bit. Maybe a couple of other designs from Seiko, but all in all, it's a very original looking watch. All of MMI's designs are somewhat original. They may take inspiration from certain places, but all of their designs are very original. I really like the lugs on these watches because they are angular. You have this little area of polish that sits right between where the bracelet connects. I think it looks very, very good. You also have this polished bezel, which Combined with that matte finished, or it's like more like a satin finished dial, I think it looks really good. Today on my wrist, I have my IWC Ingenieur perpetual calendar with digital display for the day and the month. This is in grade 5 titanium. It's just a very large watch. A lot of contrast between this watch and the current watch that we're looking at today. And there is the turret on my 7.5-inch wrist, sized up for my 7.5-inch wrist. And you can see it wears very, very comfortably. The only complaint that I would have about this watch, like I said, is the clasp. Maybe if the bracelet tapered a little bit more and they changed the clasp to something a little bit simpler with maybe on the fly micro adjust, this would be a killer bracelet. Although the bracelet is really nicely made and very, very functional, I'm just saying, you know, I would like to see that upgrade. Other than that, I think it's a very good looking watch and a very functional watch, a very good everyday GMT with 300 meters of water resistance. Lume on MMI never disappoints. Lots of lume on the hands, the indices, all the hands except for the second hand. I wish there was a little bit of lume on the second hand so you could see that it's working in the dark. Other than that, the lume is very liberally applied, very bright. Like I said before, BGW9 X1 on the hands and the indices and that date. And then on the bezel, you have C3 X1. And on the crown, I believe you're getting C3 X1 as well because it's similar in color, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But again, very liberally applied and very bright. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. This is a $369 watch. I think it will be going up in price eventually. However, currently this is $369. You're getting a GMT. When you compare that to other GMTs on the market, I think this is very fairly priced, especially considering what's out there, especially if you consider what Seiko offer at this price. This definitely undercuts Seiko significantly, and you're getting sapphire crystal, 300 meters of water resistance, screwed in crown, screwed in case back. You're getting lots of lume, and of course that GMT function and that special date function that gives it a little bit better of a symmetric dial if you are interested in that. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.